Putin's approval ratings for 17 years are quite high and stable. Looks suspicious, isn't it? Especially considering most of the Western media being against official Russia. In this video, I will try to explain why public opinions throughout years are so statistically unbiased, and do they really represent what people actually think about the president. It's very hard to be impersonal discussing this topic, but I will try to rely mostly on facts instead of opinions. First of all, it's important to keep in mind how censorship works in Russia. Officially, we have freedom of speech and censorship is prohibited. But at the same time, if you work in a government-funded media, at almost any topic, anytime your executive can receive a call. If he or she receives a call, it means that you were doing something wrong and you have to stop it immediately. For example, one famous producer mentioned in his blog that they were doing comedy sketch commercial about some spine oil, and somebody in the president administration was furious about it and forced them to pull that sketch off. Nobody knew the reason for this, and later it turned out that Putin had recently injured his back, so there could be no possible references to that on national TV. This is one of the situations where you want to laugh and cry at the same time. Also, every time Putin disappears from TV for more than 2 weeks, people start to get suspicious and get into conspiracy theories. Don't get me wrong, a lot of people sincerely believe in Putin and they admire him for what Russia had achieved throughout his presidency. Those who are about my age or younger haven't even consciously seen any other president but Putin. A lot of Russians who live outside of the country and still watch our state media are very much in favor of the president. Because on state media, Putin is always presented from a positive side, and on national television there are no critics of Putin's policy or actions or even decent political adversaries. That kind of environment contributes to the one and the only choice for the leader of the country. Subconsciously, our people are taught that there is either Putin's leadership or no leadership at all. There is a very strong belief that economic growth Russia previously had is directly related to Putin's presidency. But if you just look at the Russia's GDP growth versus oil price graph over the years, you know it's actually not. What he actually did is put his friends as heads of all major oil and gas companies. Same goes for media, police, justice department, parliament, governors, etc. There are simply no people with real power who would dare to strongly publicly disagree with Putin. Take for example Alexei Ulyukayev, former Minister of Economic Development. Based on source from our government, Ulyukayev had a reputation of a troll. After Putin came back from G20 summit in 2014 and everyone realized that Russia was in political isolation because of the Ukraine, President gathered all the state economists and asked, "Tell me, what's our next plan?" Ulyukayev replied, "Vladimir Vladimirovich, we thought you had a plan." What happened 2 years later you can read in the news. Yes, maybe Ulyukayev was in fact involved in corruption, but that's how the system works. Almost anyone in power is involved in corruption. Nobody is 100% innocent and safe, and everybody knows that. In Russia, judiciary branch is independent and you can look for actual justice in courts, but only if your case is not involved in politics in any way. The judge can also receive a call, as I already explained. And believe me, your career as a judge very much depends on how few of these calls you receive. And that sort of ideal situation. Many times judges are simply relatives or close friends of local authorities. Socially, in Russia, it is typically not beneficial for your career to strongly disagree with Putin. If you work in a state facility, public school or hospital, you are not to speak badly about authorities. Nobody would put a person who doesn't like president as the head of the hospital, for example. That's why Putin always have extremely high approval ratings in hospitals, schools, military towns, etc. Even if some of these people are not happy with the president. Saying president is bad for many people equals saying that you disgrace the entire country. Our public in general is not yet expecting to see or discuss alternatives. There is usually only one candidate or one opinion everyone has to follow or accept, and the others are just for the sake of a fake competition. It doesn't matter if it's national elections, budget proposals or healthcare strategy. Governors also have to deliver certain results for elections or opinion polls. Basically, if region has low ratings, it means governor is not working well. For example, President administration already unofficially enforced 70-70 rule for 2018 election, which means every region has to deliver 70% turnout with 70% votes for a main candidate. It is weird not to know the results of elections before the elections, isn't it? At this point in the environment we have in Russia, I don't believe approval ratings are rigged, but I cannot say that they truly represent the public opinion. The problem is nobody knows how many people are exactly pro-Putin and how many are against. Not even President himself. As a citizen of Russia, of course you can be against Putin, but a lot of people prefer to do it quietly and anonymously. And who am I to blame them for it? My name is Sasha Bykov. I made this video because I was asked this kind of questions so many times. I hope this video was educational for you. Please subscribe to the channel. If you don't agree with my opinion, please leave a comment below so FSB could get in contact with you shortly. Like, share, subscribe. I would really appreciate that. Goodbye.